So we should switch. Okay, I thought I...
Good morning, and thank you for attending the last lovely day of the 8th Annual Startup Boston Week. For those of you who've already been here, you know me, I'm Harish, it is I again, and I will be your host for today. So thank you once again, first to Suffolk University's Sawyer Business School for hosting this conference for the second consecutive year. As you may have noticed, this downtown location of Suffolk University is the perfect hub for exploring Boston's innovation ecosystem and learning from industry leaders. The goal behind this Startup Boston Week conference is to connect the entire Greater Boston and New England startup community across all industries, all startup departments, and all funding stages for 5 days of learning and connecting with each other. The team that creates Startup Boston Week is primarily volunteer, and all the folks running the conference here today, including myself, are volunteering their time. So thank you for attending this conference. This is a labor of love, and we really appreciate all of you playing a role in shaping our greater startup community. Thank you once again for being here today, and we'll move on to the session.
Hi, everybody. I'll introduce myself first. I am Leticia Tarilonte. I am the Vice President of Global Clinical Operations at Brainstorm Cell Therapeutics. It's a small biotech company, really small, biotech company working on stem cell therapy. We're based here in Boston. Crystal?
Hi, thank you, Leticia. My name is Crystal Brown. I am the CEO and co-founder of CircNova, where we do AI-driven drug discovery for circular RNA therapeutic development. Really excited to be here.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Piali Chakrabarti. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Ashmi Health. And at Ashmi Health, we are building an AI-powered health and nutrition coach for women with hormonal conditions like PCOS. And very excited to be here as well.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. My name is Keisha Graves, and I'm the CEO and founder of Girls Chronically Rock clothing brand.
Thank you. Oh, there's a little bit of feedback. Thank you so much for making it here today. It's a Friday, it's beautiful. Summer is almost over, but we really appreciate you making the time to get up early in the morning, be here at 9 o'clock with us to discuss. Today we're going to be talking about underrepresented experience in the venture capital and startup world. Not an easy task. We're going to talk about understanding the unique challenges and perspectives of underrepresented individuals and how we can foster a more equitable and inclusive ecosystem. So to get us started, let's discuss a little bit how underrepresented founders can uniquely support one another in entrepreneurship and starting their own businesses. I'm going to pass it on to Crystal. I'm going to cue her up and we can discuss together.
Sure. I think one way that founders can work together, as underrepresented founders especially, is making sure that we foster a sense of community and relationship, right? Just knowing that you're not going through it alone. As a woman, as a Black woman, sometimes you don't know which fight you're fighting, right? And so knowing that you're just not alone and seeing someone maybe like Leticia or Keisha or I'm sorry, Piali. But seeing women like these women up here with me who understand you probably are sharing some of these experiences, and if you're having this shared experience, then that means that we can come up with some solutions together and be there to kind of support and comfort each other as we go through this and figure out how to navigate a lot of those challenges. Piali?
I think from my perspective, I think it's the sense of community. So growing up, you don't see a lot of role models of women who have been founders. So sometimes it feels like a lonely journey. But again, when you see other women, you see women of color leading successful companies and doing whatever they want and, you know, like being successful in very male-dominated spaces, that gives you inspiration that, okay, maybe I can also do it. So I think it's really dependent, like, if you go out there and network with women like you who look like you, that has really helped me, and I think this is how we can help others, underrepresented founders as well.
Yes, I agree with everything the lady said up here on the panel. For me personally, from my perspective, I feel like I was diagnosed with muscular dystrophy in 2010 in my early 20s. So of course, as you can imagine, I had dreams of, always wanted to be an entrepreneur / fashion designer. So obviously I felt like I needed that sense of community because I didn't know what my future hold or what was going to happen. But I knew I always wanted to own my own business. So definitely for me, connecting with others in the disability community on Facebook, Instagram, and just seeing others like myself, minority women, owning their own business, doing creative content. And I'm like, okay, look at them, they're doing it. So that definitely inspired me to keep going. Definitely support groups I'm a part of on Facebook, like Boston Business Women. Women Helping Women has definitely helped me along the way with my journey and helping my business to build Girls Chronically Rock. So I definitely agree with everything all the ladies are saying here. It's all about network and community and working together, because without that, then you can't get any further.
Right, so we have talked about peer support, right? Networking opportunities, collaborate with each other, right? Collaborative initiatives. What about advocacy?
I think advocacy is incredibly important, right? Because just because we may not have the exact same profile, and I find this crosses industry. So like I have a lot of support friends, colleagues who are going through a lot of the same things where sometimes we feel like we're many worlds apart because maybe I'm in biotech and you're in, consumer goods, and we think that our businesses have nothing to do with each other. Therefore, how could we support each other? But really it's more about, boy, I'm going through this challenge and I went to present and I went to pitch and I felt so insecure going into this room full of men. Well, just because you're in consumer product goods and I'm in biotech doesn't mean we cannot relate, and then give each other like a lot of support and encouragement and actually tips to be able to overcome those things. So I think not only being able to relate, but then saying, hey, I can advocate for you and you're in this space. You know what? I know, and this actually happened about a week ago. I know a phenomenal woman who's in this space that's got nothing to do with me, but I know her and I met her and like, let's connect them, and that's how we can continue to lift each other up.
I love that. Just want to add, so besides my full-time job, I also volunteer for the ACRP. ACRP stands for Association of Clinical Research Professionals. I am the president and chair of the New England chapter. It's volunteer. I'm giving my time back, and I run a lot of workshops. I come to universities to talk to students, and I'm trying to help students get into the science world, into life science, into biotech and pharmaceuticals. Finding a job today is pretty hard. I'm hearing a lot about students graduating and in grad school, and then they go to find a job. No one will give them a job because we all want 1 to 3 years of previous experience. So some of us have to be here to pull and to help people get into the workspace and help each other and support each other. And so I feel that advocacy, not just getting back, but giving back is really important. So looking for a mentor, but also mentoring yourselves and other people and helping each other is super, super important so that we can network and we can support each other and advocate for each other.
And on that note, I think it's so important to ask for help. I think as women,
Ask
a
for
lot
help.
of times it's so intimidating to ask for help. And especially if you're new in an industry, or if you, let's say for an entrepreneur, if you're new and you see all these founders raising big rounds or, being really successful, I think we have to advocate for ourselves that we deserve it, we are in the right place, and ask for help.
That's right. Keisha, anything else you want to add?
That is so true. Advocacy is my middle name. As I mentioned, living with a disability, I realized advocating for myself is so important. If I do not, I would not be able to get where I am today, and that's with doctors, business owners, other employees that I have worked with. So it's so interesting because a lot of people ask me, what field are you in? But I'm like, I feel like, yes, I'm in fashion. I live and breathe fashion. But then I also can relate to the medical field and the biotech and the science because I work with pharmaceutical companies, talking about my muscular dystrophy and how I don't have a subtype. And, it's like we're still trying to find a cure. So it's like I can dabble in both fashion and the medical field. And I kind of like that because I can get tell people from my perspective and advocate and let them know, like, hey, this is my daily struggles of running a business and living with a disability. So I kind of like that. But advocacy and advocating for yourself is key, and it's so important, because without that, people are not going to know what's going on and what you need.
Keisha, you are very inspirational. And I really love that you're here with us in this panel, because when we are trying to start our own company or be an entrepreneur, and we have some challenges based on, our underrepresented community, we look for inspiration, right? And I love that you're here providing inspiration and giving inspiration. So very happy to have you here today.
Thank you.
And I'm just gonna add, she looks mighty fashionable. I mean, I'm just saying, I love the pink. I love the outfit.
Pink is my favorite color.
Pink is my favorite color.
I'm taking notes. Her shoes are amazing. Okay, so how do we put this concept of, lifting as we climb into action and actively practice these in our daily lives, in interactions within the startup ecosystem? How do we do this together? Lift as we climb together, as we are, the underrepresented entrepreneurs trying to carve a little space for ourselves.
Yeah, I think we have to be really intentional with actions. I think it's easy to talk about it and get in rooms and get on panels or have discussions, but like, what are the actions that are really taking place to make sure that we're helping each other be able to really navigate what it's like to overcome these challenges? And, like I can see two women in this room that I know very well, that I'm gonna call out, which is Kat Lozelle and Rebecca Moore, who I know intentionally do things to make sure they're lifting up other female founders, underrepresented founders, giving them safe spaces to talk, making sure that they have access to resources, making sure that we're putting things in front of us so that we know how to help each other. So I think it's about making sure that you are intentional and just making sure we have a plan, that we're taking the steps and we're saying, I'm not just gonna have a discussion about it. This is some ways, and these are some things that we can do to make sure that we are lifting each other up. What are you struggling with today? What can I help you with that? Are you struggling with your pitch? Are you struggling with how to scale your company? Did you lose someone? I mean, these are all real things that I've been through, that I've been able to call on other people within the ecosystem and say, you know what, I just lost an advisor who was taking all of this stuff and doing really great things, and now I'm lost. How do I figure that part out? Just knowing that you've got the comfort and the confidence to have a group of people and they're trusted and they're going to do something, I think is incredibly important to being able to lift each other up.
I agree to that. I think for me, I have got so much of help from amazing mentors who see you and who see the potential in you. And on days when you're not feeling good, they kind of hype you up. And I think this is what we need to do for people who probably are looking, want to be in your position, and help them and motivate them and saying yes, even if you feel like you're underrepresented, you can be a founder. You can be successful in spaces where you feel like you don't belong.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think, just to kind of piggyback on that really quickly, I think we think we're on an island sometimes.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm the only person dealing with this. I got this rejection and it must be me. And when you can really turn to other people and go, oh, it's not just me. I'm not crazy. I'm not the only person who went through this. It makes you feel confident enough to do it again the next day.
Yeah, especially if you go for a networking event, sometimes you are one or two women there, and it's hard to, openly talk about things there or openly talk about struggles or be vulnerable.
Yes.
I think that's a very important thing. A lot of times you can't be vulnerable because in the startup world, everyone seems to be doing well and everybody seems to be very vocal about their wins, but not so much vocal about what took them to get there. So I think we need to be have a safe space where we can be ourselves and we can be vulnerable.
I agree.
Yeah, I totally agree with everything you guys are saying. Again, back to that support group and that networking, where I feel like that's where I got a lot of found out about grants, found out about Mentor. Another thing I would recommend is joining business accelerator programs. I have joined right here in Boston. E for All is amazing. a few others where like I was able to get a mentor, able to get grants, connect with other entrepreneurs in collaboration. So again, like not just like talking, but having that support in that community. Like, hey, I seen a grant the other day for one of my friend's businesses. She does a food and beverage, and I'm like, hey, you should apply. You know what I mean? Because it's like I want like all of us to win. I want us to be, you know, and powerful and get those grants and grow our businesses. So just that supportive community. And some people send me emails like, Keisha, you know, I seen this fashion grant, and I'm like, oh, thank you. You know, so I appreciate that. And just kind of having that support of just like getting asked to speak here today for Startup Boston. I'm like, oh my God, they want me. You know, so little things like that make a difference, and just having that support and people want to hear your story, you know, that it's all matters, and it's great.
Very good. So we have talked about personal commitment, right? You guys have to be committed. And I want to challenge all of you today to get 100 rejections. Because for every rejection that you get, you are one step closer to being accepted and to a yes. Even Beyonce was rejected at the beginning of her career before she joined Destiny's Child. Beyonce. So personal commitment, you don't give up. You don't give up. You keep pushing. You keep going. You need to be fearless. You need to go for it. You need to create your network of people that are going to help you and support you, and you just keep going. 100 rejections. For every 100 rejections, I guarantee you, you're going to get a yes. So we've talked about personal commitment. We talked about collaborative problem solving. What about celebrating successes? Right, we talk about all of our struggles, but when Crystal finally gets a yes, we come together to celebrate her success. We come together to support her and help her. Same with Keisha, same with Piali, same with all of you, right? So not only we're here through the hard times as we're trying to get up and going and get up and running, but we celebrate successes together as well.
You know, it's funny when you bring up celebrations, I immediately think as underrepresented founders or any underserved group, I think sometimes it's hard to feel like you can celebrate yourself. Like, I don't know if anybody else deals with that, but it's like, oh, I accomplished this. Okay, wait, it's still so much to do. So like maybe that wasn't really something I should like celebrate. But I think the really good part about what we've been saying about having community and having network is saying, no, hey, stop, take a pause, because it is that much harder for us to kind of get to these places of success, we probably should take the time to really celebrate so that we have the motivation to go to the next. And I will tell you, that is something I struggle with all the time. I very rarely pause and go, wow, okay, that was great, because it's the next thing to do and got to get to that ultimate goal. And sometimes we don't even know what that is. So thank you for the reminder about celebrations. And I probably don't have a lot to contribute to say this is how we should do it, other than to say we need to pause and make sure we're doing it more often, because it is so hard doing what we do.
It is hard, and I don't think I celebrate my success, and you're always second guessing. So I remember when I got my PhD certified, defended and everything, it feels like, oh, a PhD done, I should go out and tell people I'm a doctor now. But then it's like, oh, it's not a big deal. Like everybody does a PhD. It's not something to celebrate. Syndrome, and every time, every room you go to, every time you're having anything that is remotely considered a success, you feel like saying it out loud. And again, I think it's something to do with my Asian background. We don't really, we don't call ourselves successful, because that's not how we were taught when we were growing up. So I think, again, we need to be better at understanding that this is success, and we are allowed to celebrate, we are allowed to take a pause.
And that's why the relationship is important, because, you just said that's how kind of you grow up, right?
Yeah.
But that's also how I grew up, right? So no, you don't celebrate. And so you don't even know that until we talk and go, wow, you've got that. So we both are operating out of the same place of not celebrating even the small wins. And it is so important.
Yeah, you guys nailed it right on the key. I'm the same way. A lot of people may send me a message, a text message, even family and friends, oh, Keisha, I just seen your post on, social media, and I see you got this. And I'm like, yeah, they was why you didn't tell us about it? And I'm just I don't know. I'm just it's not a big deal. I always say, when I start living my life and getting money like the Kardashians, then I said I would celebrate. But until then, I'm like, all right. And then sometimes I do have to question. I'm like, should I be more excited? But I get that all the time. So same thing you guys ladies are saying. I'm like, so I'm the same way as well. And I'm like, all right. I feel like there's so much more to do. I still want to get Girls Chronically Raw into retail channels like Macy's, Target. I'm like, this is just the beginning. So so some people be like, oh my God, that's great. But I'm like, all right. It's no big deal, but I said once I start making money like the Kardashians, that's when I can celebrate.
But I'm guessing that like people will, when you tell them like you're amazing target, they're like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
that's amazing. And then you're like, oh wait, what? I was on to the next thing.
Right. Exactly.
We have a
Just to
question.
back up what you're saying, don't you think it's extra important to have the network of professional, entrepreneurial thinking women? Because I find they're the ones you can say that you're doing really well and they will celebrate with you. And there's no kind of underhanded, I don't know how to say it. There's a lot of women who don't think like we do. And so it's not just a circle of women that I need, right? It's a circle of entrepreneurs who will say, good for you for earning more money and getting a bigger title, and who don't think that that's pompous or aggrandizing or anything. So I really appreciate my professional circles, and I think there's a difference between just any circle.
100%. As a vice president of a company, I have a lot of people reporting to me, and I see that for the most part, for the same job, men usually are offered a little bit more money. Still happens. And I challenge HR. Why? They have the same credentials, the same years of experience, the same. Why are they getting paid a little bit more? But I'm not gonna dog the male employee. Good for him. He got $500,000. High five. Now let's talk about how I bring this female employee up to 500K, right? Let's talk about how do we make her, what do I need to do to develop her and help her? And so I am mentoring and I'm helping and I'm supporting an underrepresented employee within my ecosystem, right? To bring them up to, I don't want to bring anybody down. We build everybody up. Everybody, right? And so I'm very supportive, and I have a lot of male friends, female friends, all kinds of color friends, and I am a big advocate for you need to prove what you bring to the table, you need to prove what you're offering, what services you're offering, or consultancy you're offering, whatever it is, and make sure that you get paid up properly for it. And we're gonna fight to get you the most that we can get, and for you to present yourself in a way that you show your worth. And so this is why having a network of professionals and people to help you, without gender bias or color bias or anything like that is super important. We're all in it together. And you're all gonna get 100 rejections, right, this year, before the end of the year. By December 31st, 100 rejections so that you can get your first absolutely yes in January. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about building this support system, right? What do I need to do? I want to start my own company. What do I need to do today to figure out how do I go about building this support system? Crystal.
So I think the first thing is, once you decide what you want to do, which I think that's hard enough in itself, right? It's, I want to be an entrepreneur. Okay, what kind of entrepreneur? What is your business and what are you doing? And I think once you really determine this is my business, or this and this is the company and this is what I'm starting, I think that's when you go, okay, what are the resources that I'm needed? Who do I want to be like? So I always do this thing and say, who do I want to be when I grow up? Who do I want my company to be when I grow up? Now, who's done it right? I don't want to be exactly like them, but I can use them as a reference. And now who can I plug in that would be a good resource that's going to help me get to that same type of level of where I want to be? And then now, who out of those resources are most likely to be supportive of me? So if I know that it's going to be, it could be the best, most resourceful, could be top-notch, let's call it a consulting firm. They may be amazing, but if they don't believe in me, they're not a good resource for me. If they don't think I'm the type of person that can lead this type of company, they can be the best practice anything, but they're not going to be beneficial to my business. So I have to make sure that I'm partnering with people and resources who not only get what I do and can help, but also want to help and believe in me, because to me, that's like what makes all the difference.
Great points. I think for me, what happened in the first 6 months that I decided to be an entrepreneur is I wasn't talking about it. So it was a hard feeling to just sink in that, okay, I don't really have a job. This is like I'm my own boss and there's no salary coming in. And like talking to people when you don't really know what you're doing. And that I think is the most difficult time to go ask for help because you don't really know what kind of help you need. So I think the most important thing is just go out and put yourself out there and just find as many people as you can and just talk to them. Ask them what their journey was. Find other entrepreneurs and talk to them. And in that process, you would really know what you're doing and if that path is meant for you and how would you want to, like, how would you approach people? So it's just like take the leap of faith and just go out there and talk to people.
Yes, I agree. Like I always tell people when they ask me, what steps would you need to take to become an entrepreneur / business owner? And I tell them, I'm like Nike says, just do it. I'm like, yes, it's more easier said than done, but if you have a plan, if you have a vision, just go for it. Because before you know, your business is up and running and you can make it work. And again, back to that networking of the support groups that I'm a part of on Facebook, Boston Business Women, Women Helping Women, going to those networking events, joining those accelerator programs have helped me along the way with connecting with other individuals like Keisha. Oh, I know this person in the fashion industry, and I've been able to connect with people from Zappos, Timberland. And so when I feel like I wouldn't have been able to do that with not being a part of those accelerator networking events. So I would say just, put yourself out there. Like she mentioned, and pitch yourself, do your story. And I mean, there's so much social media, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, my favorite. And then there's also threads now where, so many people are engaging where just post yourself like, hey, I'm such and such, this is my business. And before you know it, people want to be intrigued and want to know more. And people may reach out and say, hey, I know this person in your industry, let me connect you with that. And I love that. And LinkedIn has definitely been the key for me for that recently. So I definitely recommend LinkedIn, which I'm sure we all are on it already. But yeah, just that networking and putting yourself out there because you never know who's listening, who's watching, or who's reading your post. And yeah, you never know. So just getting that connection is like key, and networking is amazing.
Let's talk a little bit about how do I develop my own skills. I want to start my company. And okay, so I'm going to first I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to identify my needs, talk about it, and start networking, talking about it, seeking mentorships, right? What about my skills? How do I go about developing some of my skills?
Yeah, so, this probably draws a little bit more on like my corporate background, but I think it's really important to know your own strengths and your own opportunities for improvement, right? You can't think you're the best at everything. You can't think you're doing everything the right way. You have to really know yourself and assess. I struggle with time management. I struggle with organization. It's real. It affects me every day. It affects my business. It affects how I do things. That's who I am. Because I know that, I can combat it and I can constantly work towards it. And it's something I have to fight to improve that skill no matter what, because I know those are my challenge areas. So I think being able to do a self-assessment and then having like really trusted people and advisors, people who won't just say, well, you're constantly not managing your schedule right. Like I look up and you're 5 minutes late for everything. That's not useful. Useful is, tell me how you manage your schedule, because I had someone do this for me. I noticed that you're 5 minutes late every time we start a call. How are you scheduling your calls? And I was like, oh, I do them usually back to back to back. Like I try to have call days. And they were like, here's the problem with that. You're not allowing any additional time after the call in case it runs over. So you're starting your day from first call, and I said, I'm behind all day. And they said, yeah, because what you need is a half-hour break. If you have a 9 to 10, break 10 to 10:30, then you won't have that issue, and then you don't come across as if you're always late and you don't respect people's time. I needed to hear that, but they also gave me like a useful recommendation, something I could do and not just beat me up over, you always show up late. Like, that doesn't help. How can I fix this? Because this is a true area of struggle for me. So I think self-assessment is key, and then trusted people you can talk to.
Yeah, I think self-assessment is something that you have to do in every job. I think for entrepreneurship, for what for me was finding a really good early stage accelerator and really trusting people. That's like to your point, like if you have trusted people who can help you or guide you in the right direction, or even help you assess whether this path is right for you or not. I think that has really worked for me.
I would say from my perspective, how I gained and learned my skills is I would say I want to shout out Framingham State University. I studied fashion design and merchandising there. And then I also got my master's at Cambridge College. So as I mentioned, I always knew I wanted to be a fashion designer / entrepreneur, looking up to designers like Tommy Hilfiger and Betsy Johnson. And so from those skills, and then after graduating from college, doing the merchandising field, traveling to different stores, doing merchandising for Tommy Hilfiger, Tommy John, I think from those, I just kind of learned my skills and like I knew more and more this is my passion. This is what I wanted to do. And then of course, unfortunately, muscular dystrophy came. And then, I wasn't able to do the merchandising work that I wanted to and be on my feet like how I wanted to all the time. So that's when I knew like it's time to put my business, 100%. And so I believe that everything does happen for a reason, but from those skills of going to school, being a part of those different accelerator programs, networking, has helped me build with the different skills. And I'm still learning. I tell people, I'm like, I don't know it all. So I'm still learning each and every day and learning of what, I can do better to build my Girls Chronically Rock empire.
I really love that. Keep an element of humbleness. That we're always learning, always. You're always in that learning curve, right? We don't know everything and we're always learning. So let's summarize. We've talked about identifying our needs, right? Seeking mentorship, building a network, collaborating with other peers. Keisha just told us, access resources. Go out and TikTok, YouTube, social media, talk to other people. There's so many resources out there to help you get started and keep going and do it better and expand and grow. Use those resources. Don't have paralysis because you're stuck and you don't know where to go from here. Develop your own skills, continue developing your own skills, continue learning. And then I love a little bit of the storytelling, right? That's my favorite, like real examples. I too struggle because I'm in back-to-back meetings. I'm always 5 minutes late. So I have no time to just decompress, think about the meeting that we just had, gather my thoughts, maybe go to the restroom for a second, maybe go grab a little bit of water, and then get ready for my next meeting, right? Because we're always on the go. And so give yourself a little bit of grace, too. It's good to just sit back and reflect for a second. If you can in between meetings, but every night, just sit back and reflect how long you've come, where you want to go, and then figure out your path and your plan on how you're going to get there. Okay, let's keep moving. So what about some strategies for finding and nurturing supporting networks of fellow underrepresented founders? So are there any specialized organizations or groups that we can talk about?
Yeah, I think it all kind of like feeds into each other, like back to kind of like the self-assessment of your skills and that, and then maybe the assessment of your business, and then again identifying like what resources and opportunities can really help you be very strategic in how you're putting those resources together that's going to really propel you further. So like I'm all about like a really great accelerator. I just completed the Cambridge Innovation Center Social Impact Cohort, which was just outstanding, one of the best accelerators I've experienced. You go through that and you say, okay, the reason why this will serve my company is because they can help me get access to more support. Oh, I don't really know the ecosystem that well. Okay, wait a minute. I looked at the people who run the program and they're connected to all these different people. And so I think if you really like take the time to assess all the proper resources, then that's how you really go about saying, okay, this program versus that program, this accelerator versus that one. Not that they're not all great, but it's really about being thoughtful on how you want to spend that time to make sure that you're like getting something out of it. So that if you spend 3-6 months doing one of these programs, at the end of it, you're like, wow, I started here. When I came out of it, this is what my business got out of it. And I've done the not so great ones and the great ones, which I'm sure we all know. So
Yeah, I think, again, self-assessment, like doing your research and figuring out which ones would be good for you. And I want to give a shout out to Visible Hands, which I'm part of. Again, very great people, very supportive but underrepresented founders. And I think it's good to be part of some group which understands your struggle, your unique struggles, and gives you unique strategies that would help you navigate those challenges. It's important to do research and find out who would be the right fit for you. Again, like not everybody would be a good fit. So finding out what works for you best.
Yes, I would say from my perspective, shout out to the accelerated programs that I've been a part of Boston, Woke, E for All, and this BAPS in college I was also a part of. So I feel like I can learn so much, and then sometimes I'm like, all right, do I need to do this other accelerated program? But I'm like, yes, I do, because I feel like it's going to be a whole new perspective. I'm going to learn something new. I'm going to learn something I didn't learn from this, and there's going to be different people there. So yeah, just like connecting and networking, and then again, from my perspective of connecting with, people that can relate to me, like people in the disability community that, run a business, running a social media content. And I'm like, how do they do it? Like, because our bodies are exhausting. I'm like, some days I wake up, I don't know what the body wants to feel like, but just kind of having that connection of that support group, like, hey, how are you feeling? That makes me like, feel good and give me energy. Like, all right, well, they're doing it. When this is something we can't control, living with a disability, so I just got to keep moving and keep going. But, having those accelerated programs and that support group of women of, just supporting me, giving me ideas, grants, opportunities has definitely helped me. And I will continue to say that over and over, because it definitely helps my business, and it helps like all of you guys as well. As you guys mentioned, being a part of those different programs, and it's like without them, I feel like I wouldn't have been where I am today.
And I want to add, because what I'm hearing that you're saying, Keisha, is also like the personal part of it. And I think sometimes we forget to look at each other as people, especially when you're considering like those types of accelerators or programs and that. But if you like look at them like they serve us in a lot of ways. So like I didn't just get business stuff out of the accelerator I was in. Like I was trying to figure out where to put my kids in school. I was trying to figure out like all this different stuff, and like it literally like served all of that, because how can you be an amazing founder if you're not sound as a person? And so having again those kind of programs where you're like, wow, this really not only can serve me professionally, but it also can speak to certain things personally like that I'm going through.
So what I'm hearing is that emotional and mental health support is also very important.
It is so important.
I want to give you some tangible examples of resources and support systems that you can access, such as the Small Business Development Center, the Minority Business Development Agency, and then for you to become a member of organizations specifically focused on what you're working on, such as, for example, the National Association of Women Business Owners. We also have another organization called Black Founders and Out in Tech. And of course, we have Women Who Code, Minority Business Entrepreneur Network. I did a good search to give you some real examples of all these organizations that are out there, right? ACRP, right? If you're in biotech pharmaceutical, please come talk to me and connect with me on LinkedIn. I will help you with anything that you need in terms of like biotech pharmaceutical and life sciences. I'm here for you to pay it forward. And so we have to foster inclusivity ourselves, and we have to pay it forward, because that's how we help each other, right? We're seeking help, but if we also help each other, win-win for everybody. What else? Attending conferences. You're all here. This is great, right? So attending relevant events and conferences where you gather information and you network and get to meet other people, super important. Leverage online communities and platforms. And what else? Obviously, utilize incubators and accelerators. How do we go about finding these incubators and accelerators? Tell us a little bit more about that.
So again, I think it was just like, for me, I've been a part of maybe 3 different accelerators. Each one was more based on where I was at the stage of my business. So I think that's important too when you're assessing who you are and where you are. It's who am I today too, right? So at a certain stage of just starting a company, I don't need to go to Y Combinator. That's like, I'm not ready yet, right? If that's for an example, something you want to do. I think it's really saying, okay, where am I at today again? How can this best serve me, and what can I get out of the program? And then looking at all the things that we may not pay attention to, like who are the sponsors? Wait a minute, who's associated with this? Who are the advisors? There may be someone that you've been looking on LinkedIn at for the last couple months, and you're like, oh wait, they're going to be at that conference or that accelerator. Like I need to get to that person. So.
What about you also use accelerators?
Yeah. So I think the stage is important, what stage you're at, and understanding what the accelerator is offering. And the other thing that I do is like connect with other founders, like people you look up to, and see what they have done and what has worked for them, and ask about their experience.
Yeah, I would say for me, a lot of the accelerated programs I learned about, again, on social media, Again, email, newsletter, signing up for, those different groups, because then you'll be surprised of the announcements they send you. So just make sure to check your email. And then a lot of thing of just networking where people have brought it to my attention, like, hey, Keisha, I seen this program, like, I think you should apply. So just those little things are so meaningful. And like, again, you never know who's watching your business, because I have gotten so many recommendations of people where I'm like, I didn't even know that they followed me. And I'm like, oh, wow. And then for them to think about me to say, oh, apply for this program, I really appreciate that. So just like networking, I see it on like different groups on Facebook, and again, emailing. And then I would just be scrolling through Facebook and I see this and I'm like, hey, I'm going to apply, take a chance and go for it. So yeah, just like keeping your eyes and ears open, you never know. There's so many programs here in Boston to take advantage of.
Exactly. Very good. We definitely want to leave some time for questions and to have, a conversation with the audience. So I'm going to start summarizing a little bit what we talked about today. Number one, you're going to beat Leticia's challenge of getting 100 rejections. Number two, build genuine relationships, right? Let's actually build real relationships and not just say, yeah, we're going to help you. Yeah, I'm going to network with you. No, it's for real. We're connected on LinkedIn and I'm here for you. And when you're struggling, you're having a bad day, you call me because I'm going to build you up. Create and join groups, right? I joined the ACRP. I have a full-time job. I'm super busy. Doesn't matter. I want to give back. I had mentors and I had small organizations in the early 2000s when I joined biotech, and they were so helpful for me to develop my career and to be where I'm at today. And so I want to pay it forward. I want to help the next generation or even my own generation to keep going forward and keep developing your own skills and growing in your professional career. So join groups, but create groups as well. Host and attend meetups. Go to conferences, but host your own conferences. We're gonna host our own little networking event. We're gonna go to Cambridge and go to Boston Beer Works, whatever, and have a little event where we can all talk to each other, support each other, and brainstorm ideas on how we can support each other. Mentorship and sponsorship. So of course, look for mentors and sponsors, but then mentor and sponsor yourself. Share resources and opportunities. Look for those resources and opportunities, but then share, right? Share so that we can help each other and celebrate successes and advocate for each other. Super important, right? So not just being stuck in a rut because you don't know how to move forward and how to get forward. Look at Keisha with all the challenges that she's having. She's fabulous and she's here and she's pushing forward and she's gonna do amazing things in her life. Nothing is gonna stop her. Nothing is gonna stop you. Nothing is gonna stop us. We have to keep going, keep pushing, but remember to just take a breather and also celebrate. Every milestone counts, right? So that we can all be Beyonce. So it's 9:47, so we would love to have some time to take questions or talk with you guys. So if there are any questions in the audience, please, this is the time.
I would love to know if you guys have any stories where you've successfully been able to challenge people in the majority who have seats of power to think more inclusively, to be more intentional. DEI, it's all over the place, but acting and doing is different. And I'd love to hear if you guys have success stories. I know we all have non-success stories, but success would be good.
Yeah, why don't you start? Okay, but I have a very different kind of story. So this was like when I started my career. So I have a chemical engineering background. And I started my career in a manufacturing unit in a remote village in India where there were like 500 employees in that unit and I was the only woman. And I was a manager, very young, not knowing a lot of things. And it was just hard to go about your day, do anything, get anything done. So a lot of conflict. And for the first, I think, 4 months or 5 months, I didn't say anything. I was scared. I was intimidated by everybody there. There was felt like, I would quit. And then I realized, like, I don't have to be the loudest in the room. I can't be the loudest. I look very different. So I'm petite. I can't be, considered somebody who is like, because of the voice or because of their power, somebody would intimidate you. So I thought, be kind, like, talk to people, understand their stories, and try to, push a little bit of yourself every time, be polite, and that worked. Like in 6 months, people started listening to me. People started valuing my opinions, so that is what worked back then.
Yeah, I can say I recently actually was invited to a roundtable for this exact reason, wanting to know. It was myself in a room with all men who didn't look anything close to me, if that makes any sense. And so the question was, you've had some success in securing some funding, getting some resources, and building some relationships. Why are there not more people like you? And I had to take the time to say, well, I can be real, or I can give you like a really nice, fluffy, politically correct answer, or I can tell you like the real answer. And I gave them that choice, and they said, we want to hear it real. And I said, well, because the first thing is, the minute you see me, you've already decided I can't run a company like my company, so I got to combat that issue first. Then once I get you to understand that I am the right person, I do know this lane inside and out, and I'm the right person to run it, now I got to get you to trust me. So I'm fighting an uphill battle. And I've already had just a tiny amount of small sliver of the success that men like you have. Imagine the 100 women after me. We're all fighting for that little itty bitty tiny sliver just to get you to pay attention, just to get you to overcome how you see us from what shows up at the door. So what do we need? We need you to first get past what you see so that you can look at the business, fairly evaluate us, then figure out why there are not more people like me sitting at the table. So I think you have to have the courage, and quite frankly, you have to have the balls to say, I'm going to challenge you, and I'm not going to make it pretty when I talk about it, unless you want me to, and then we're just wasting everybody's time.
Yeah, I would say it's so true. Just like kind of putting yourself out there. I'm at the point now where it's like, I don't really care anymore. And it's like, I'm just putting like, I have like been events like where I got email invited to, and I have like, oh, you guys looking for speakers? And I have put myself there to put myself as a speaker because I felt like my perspective needs to be heard from someone, especially from the disability community. So, because I'm like, you can't also ask questions about someone about disability or adaptive fashion when someone on the panel is not living with any of those things. It doesn't make sense. Or if you want to get like someone from a minority perspective, Black perspective, and it's like, how are you going to do that if you don't have anybody on that table? So I make sure to put myself on that table, and I think that definitely has helped me along the way because I have been asked to join different boards and stuff like that, and now I serve on the board for persons for people with disabilities of Cambridge, and auditioning for other chairs, and I'm like, oh wow. So to see where I'm at now, where I wasn't so talkative and advocating as before, but now I'm just like, I say whatever. So I say the real, because it's like, if you don't, I kind of feel like they're not going to know or understand what's happening. And so I feel like I have to speak up and say what I have to, and yeah, just say whatever. So I kind of put myself in that predicament where you are going to hear me.
So I work in life sciences and health and healthcare. The executive boards, mostly men. The C-suite, mostly men. VP level, mostly men. Yeah, I'm pretty light in color, but I'm a woman. I'm 5'4", and I have an accent. But I have education. I'm smart. I'm composed. I don't lose my cool. I come in with my wit, my data, my education, my facts, what I know, what I've done, and I persevere. And I am working through my 100 rejections. I am. For every no, I'm like, one step closer to a yes, another no. Your loss. You don't know what you're missing by not saying yes to me. No problem. I'll just keep going. So you have to keep going. You have to persevere. You have to, if you can't talk yourself into it, then look for your network, because I will talk you into it, right? I will talk you into it to keep going and keep persevering. And it's not about men versus women. It's about, we all have the ability and the capability and the intelligence to do this and to be in executive level jobs or to run companies. We all have different levels of creativity and imagination. And so we just have to keep pushing and keep being out there. and build your network that supports you, really, truly. At the beginning of my career, 24 years ago, my accent was super thick. I mean, I really spoke with a thick accent. It didn't stop me at all whatsoever, and I foster inclusivity. So again, when I go out and I need to look for new employees that we want to hire, I am fostering inclusivity myself. I'm looking at these. I go on LinkedIn and I see, what do they look like? Where do they come from? Where did they study? Yes, this person is white and they study at Harvard University, but this other person maybe is black and they study in Louisiana, but let me interview both of them. And so inclusivity. And the second thing, in my sector, in my career in clinical trials, the FDA is cracking down. Actually, they have a draft guidance that we need to do a lot more DEI and a lot more diversity. And so we are already starting to make sure that in our clinical trials, the majority of our patients don't just look like, middle class to upper class white patients. What about all those other patients, all those minority patients out there that don't have the means to come to MGH and join the clinical trial? We have to help them too. So I walk the talk, right? It's not just empty words. We actually have to walk the talk. We have to do it ourselves. I hope that answers your question. Do we have another question?
Yeah, hi. We're here at Startup Week, and I always find the word startups very interesting because the key word in there is start. And I think it's in particular very challenging for people who taking that risk is a lot harder. We might not have personal networks or foundations to rely on when we're taking that leap. So can you share some of your inspiration of what made you finally pull the trigger and actually start?
Yeah. So for me, I'll say I had to see it. I had a really great opportunity. I started my career in automotive manufacturing, so totally nothing to do with biotech. I fell into biotech by complete accident through finance. And I did that by working for an amazing woman of color in Michigan who is one of the most successful life science entrepreneurs there. And I got to see her do it. And so once I saw her do it and I supported it, I was like, well, if she can do this, I could probably do it. And so my biggest thing is it takes one person. It takes one thing. Find that one person who started and then go, well, how did they start and what didn't they have? We always talk about what we have. I think in startup, it is so important that you say, I didn't have any of this when I was starting, because then you don't feel alone. So if you're like, I didn't have a network, great, neither did I. I didn't have the, oh, no, neither did I. I didn't have this either. And then you don't feel like you can't start. Oh, nope, most of us started out with very little to nothing, and then we build. That's why everything we're talking about, I think the relationships, the community, the networking, all of that's so important. I think he should just say, just do it. You just got to do it.
Yep.
Piali?
No, that's it. Just go for it.
Yes.
Yeah. We all started at zero. Beyonce started at zero.
Yes. Do that.
She had a beautiful voice because she was going to choir in church and this, but she started at zero. The first time that she showed up to a label, she got rejected. She got rejected several times before they placed her in Destiny's Child. So we are Beyonce. We start at zero. We have nothing, but through networking, looking for resources, talking to people. How did you start? What do I need? What kind of funding do I need? How do I get the funding? Where do I go to talk to more people? Other networking events. I need help. Don't be scared to ask for help. Many of us are here to help. Keisha, anything you want to add, or Piali?
No, you pretty much nailed it. Pretty much like she mentioned, we all didn't have that support network, and this is all something we learned and grew along the way, with our entrepreneurship journey. So this is something I learned along the way and knew what I wanted to do. Always had passion for fashion, as I mentioned, and yeah, just kind of went for it. And then you learned along the way of, being in those support groups and stuff like that, that you built your network. And then you're meeting more and more people along the way. So we all started off with not like, we wasn't born, oh yeah, we knew this person, knew that. We definitely learned along the way, and going to those networking events, like I said, you never know who's watching and who's listening. So that is my definitely key to advice for that.
For me, I think the reason why you're starting is very important. So there are going to be so many hurdles, but if it always comes back to your purpose, that I can't do anything if I'm not doing this. Like, this is what I'm meant to do, and this is why I'm doing this. It's very important to keep you going.
And don't be afraid to fail.
Yeah.
We're gonna fail.
Oh, yeah.
We fail at relationships and friendships and things that we do in life. We fail, and that's okay. We get up and we try again, and we do it again, and we keep pushing. Perseverance. 100 rejections, guys. I'm gonna be watching all of you. Do we have another question? We still have a couple minutes.
I think we have two.
Hi. I think a lot of people in this room might self-identify as underrepresented founders or, trying to step into that and start their businesses. And I think the four of you did a great job of just being here as role models and speaking to those and making those people feel like there's a community that they can join. I was wondering, I look across the room and I think some people in here might identify as, being in the majority. Maybe they are not facing the same struggles that you guys have faced. We each come with our own kind of set of privileges, right? Our backgrounds and where we're at. Could you speak just a little bit about some ways that you might have felt supported by someone who might not look like you, but, has already gained that success? Or I think you spoke a little bit about, that round table of people like inviting you in and genuinely wanting that honest answer of what is it that they need to be doing differently. So, just like, oh, this is how they made me feel welcome, or alternatively, like maybe just not doing those things that they don't realize are unwelcoming. Could you kind of talk to that?
Yeah, I'd love to talk about this. So, and I'll tell you why it's so important. So I have one quick story I'll share. I was at JP Morgan about 3 years ago. I sat next to this woman of privilege who I didn't know from a can of paint. We started talking about heels because, hey, it's one of those things as women. We were like, oh my God, why did I wear these to this conference? And as we're talking, she said, so what do you do? And I told her, well, I was with my first startup at that point, and I told her about the business. And she said, how can I use my white privilege to help you? And I stopped and I said, I've never been asked that before. What a question. And I was like, wait a minute. And she was like, I'm really successful. So the first thing she did was tell me about herself. She said, I'm very successful. I funded 2 companies of this, that, and told me her whole spiel. And she said, so how can I use my stance to help you? And I said, I don't have an answer for that today, but I will. And when I do, I'm going to have something really specific. Well, we kept in touch. That woman is now one of my advisors for my company. She has been instrumental in what she has done to support Cirque Nova, making sure we have gotten investments, our strategy. She didn't just say it, she asked purposefully. And when we talk about it over lunch, casual conversation, she said, it was my responsibility when you told me what you were doing. It was my responsibility to help because I've had such success in this space. Not just that, but if you look at my team, and I've been challenged on this, it's myself and quite frankly, a team of all white men. That's just the truth. CTO, CEO, all white men and Crystal. However, this group of brilliant men has worked with me. They have worked countless hours, 7 days a week, given it everything they have, because not only they believe in what we're doing, our technology and our science, they believe that much in me as a leader. They have literally said, when we got down and do the cap table, and I think this is important because people don't like to talk about this kind of stuff, they said, we support you being the majority stakeholder because you should be, because you have put this whole thing together. And we are going to give everything we have to make sure it's a success. And they have done that. And I think it's important because when we talk about allyship, we can't do it alone as underserved founders. We can't do it alone as underrepresented people. We have to have people who say, I'm going to stand up like those 2 gentlemen who invited me in and say, I am in a position to help. What can I do? And then I think we have to say, this is what you can do. We can't just talk. We got to say, no, this is what you can do to help us out.
Yeah, I think that's what, like, you have to be very vocal and ask for help. And that is what I'm learning how to do, like, just to raise my voice and say, this is where I need help and this is who I want help from.
Yeah, just to add to that, yeah, it's so true of just getting the support of messages I have received of all different races of like, oh, hey, Keisha, we want you to come to speak on this event, or would you love to help us? And sometimes I'm caught off guard because even when they ask me, I'm like, you want my perspective? And so it's like, kind of nice. And then, because I'm just like, oh, I feel so honored. Because again, back to that, you never know who's watching, who's listening, seeing your post on social media. So when I get like messages like that, I'm just like, oh, wow, they want to hear from my perspective. And then I'm like, hey, this is what I'm here for. This is my purpose, And so I'm like, let me go. And so I can, share my voice in my personal story of my entrepreneurship journey, also living with a disability. And so, yes, getting those, like, questions from all different races, white, wherever, and they're like, oh, Keisha, we want you to come speak, or can you come speak to my students? And that definitely makes me feel so good, because I'm like, oh, they want me to come speak? So, yeah, that definitely helps me along the way, and definitely a great perspective, but then also just like humbling, because I'm just like, oh, they want to hear from me, so that's exciting.
Fearless. When you walk out of this conference this week, Startup Boston, I want you all to be fearless by next year when we come back to Startup Boston 2025. I want all of you to be here. Tell me that you got your 100 rejections and that you were fearless and you walked out there and you network and you pushed and you persevere and you made it happen. I want to hear about all of your successes by next year. Yes.
How do you navigate the challenges of educating your mentees, the next generation of business owners, that underrepresented founders that look like you? How do you navigate the challenge of educating them to the actual environment they will be navigating in an environment where there is incredible pressure for women to not use the word sexism, for Black people to not use the word racism, for people who are in a wheelchair to not use the word ableist? Like, how do you educate that next generation so that when they do come across these challenges, it's not as traumatic, and not that it's your job to educate the majority folks, but as you mentioned, there are some folks of goodwill who are just unaware of of those challenges. Yeah, I'm just curious.
Yeah, okay, you want me to go first?
That's a hard one.
So, it's a great question, and this is what I think. I'm from Detroit, okay? So I have a very different personality, and so I feel, I do. You're gonna get all this Black girl, whether you like it or not, okay? That's what it is. So if I go into this room and it is conservative and staunch, and they expected me to show up a certain way, guess what? You're gonna get this Black girl from Detroit, and we're gonna talk about the science and these numbers, because I know it, right? And I think that confidence is important, because when I'm in that room with those people who don't look like me, I like to believe that most people are inherently good. You're gonna have some people who don't wanna hear it, and they've decided, they've taken one look at you, and this is what I tell other founders that I get a chance to talk to who are in an underserved group of any caliber. You're gonna have people who just don't wanna deal with you because of who you are. Great. I don't want you anyway. I don't wanna deal with you anyway. You can't help me if you've decided I can't do what I'm doing because of who I am. So be real comfortable and confident in who you are, and don't let people make you feel bad about it. You may stand out in the room, and guess what? I bet you won't forget me either. And that's okay too. So I think the biggest thing is making sure that we are instilling confidence in people in underserved groups, whether it's a disability, whether you're a part of the LGBTQ community, whether you're a part of the Black or brown communities, underserved, it doesn't matter. Be really confident and very happy with who you are, because everybody else will either accept it or not. And if they don't, great, you don't want to be bothered with them anyway. And the minute you've got that confidence, you can navigate this world, because nobody can shake you. That's my thought.
Yeah, I think, so from my perspective, I'm from India, and in India, it's really hard, I think, even today, to see very successful role model in smaller towns. I think what's important is to just share your story, like show what is possible, like show that there are no boundaries. Even today, back home, there are these restrictions on what you can achieve as a woman, as a girl, what kind of education you can get, what kind of exposure do you get. So I think I'm privileged that I was given the chance or allowed to have a proper education, to travel abroad, have all these experiences. A lot of women, a lot of girls are not. So I think what I'm doing on my part is just share the story that this is possible, this is what can happen if you just put in the right effort, or you just challenge the whatever is happening, like push your boundaries.
Yeah, I would say for me, I would say everything's a work in progress, to be honest. I mean, we're still learning. I mean, I'm 39, living with a disability. I feel like I'm still learning each and every day. And so I feel like for me, if I'm gonna mentor someone, I tell them my personal experience of my journey of what I went through, how I started doing the networking, using the hashtags of connecting with other people in the disability community. Because I'm like, you cannot tell me I had a disability when that doctor said I was diagnosed. I'm like, you called the wrong patient. And so just like it takes time and we all work at our own pace. So I would say it's a work in progress. And, before you know it, and these younger generations today, they might know more than we do. They're more smarter about the technology, so they might be teaching us. And so I would say it's all a work in progress. We don't know it all, but each and every day, I'm still learning something new.
I don't even know what to add. I think that they cover it all. I mean, so you cannot say, for example, I don't see color, right? I see color. I see it. I see color. I acknowledge it. But when it comes down to, do I trust Crystal to run the company? Do I want to invest in Crystal to run the company? That's when I shouldn't see color. It doesn't matter what she looks like. She has, or Piali, or Keisha, or all of you. Incredible brains. You come armed with data, with creativity, with design, with enthusiasm, with perseverance. You come in like a truck. You're like, this is my proposal, and this is what I'm gonna do, and this is the revenue we're gonna bring in. You come so prepared. I don't even know what you look like. It doesn't matter. I'm completely impressed as an investor. I'm gonna give you all my money. So I see it, but just forget that it's there. You come prepared to start your company. You come prepared with a strong proposal and your confidence. Fearless confidence. And don't be afraid to get rejected, because you'll find me and I'll invest in you.
We got one more.
Hi. So first of all, I want to say thank you all for being here. I feel like I have a huge shot of adrenaline in my arm, as well as lots of homework to go do. So thank you very much for that. I'm going to ask kind of I don't know if you call it a public policy or a business policy question. You guys have kind of addressed it. You all probably acutely know that less than 2% of venture capital goes to people that look like us, goes to women of color. What kind of like systemic changes, I know that word systemic is loaded, but I don't know another word for it. What kind of things should we be advocating for as citizens, both of the business community and of the public community? Do you have any thoughts on that? I know that's kind of like, again, a big question in an election year, but I'd love to hear it.
One thing that I will say is that I have to trust the process, right? So the new generation of investors is coming through, right? And so the problem is that we need the money now, because I want to start my business now and I need the money now, but I have to persevere. I have to keep going. I have to keep pushing, and I have to trust the process that eventually I'm going to find the right investor that is going to believe in me and is going to invest in me. And that generation of white old men with a lot of money, there is a new generation coming through, and it's us investing. So again, foster inclusivity, we are the ones that have to invest in you, right? Instead of them. So a little bit of patience and perseverance, I think, is what I would focus for these very challenging question, because it's true, 2%.
Less than 2%. And I agree. I heard two things. One of them, I think, is you have to show up ready. You have to know what you're up against. And a lot of times as underserved, underrepresented founders, we don't know what showing up ready looks like, and I think that stops us from getting funding. You got to be ready for those questions. You got to have everything that she just laid out. What's your data room looking like? What's your agreements look like? Everything needs to be good so that you're taking away the possibility of the no first and the rejection. Let me make sure I'm showing up everything here so that now if you say no, it's not because I didn't show up prepared. And then I also think, I agree 100%. I am meeting so many of the new class of investors. You see it, they feel differently, like they want to invest differently. It is a time thing. It is like, I don't even know.
It's around the corner.
It's like it's coming.
It's
there.
coming.
They want to change
around
it.
the
It's like,
corner.
we need you to change it. But as she stated, it's like, you know, patience. We got to have the patience to watch that number go up. But trust me, I know we all feel it. We feel that like last 2%. It is knowing I have to show up 10 steps ahead, 10 times better. So before I even put myself out there for funding, I tried to have so much done so that all you can say is yes. And if you say no, it should be a really good reason. What are your thoughts on funding?
I think I'm just hopeful, and this is the reason I still wake up and do what I do is investors will see my company, what I'm doing, my track record, and not see me, not see my gender, not see my color, and just trust that this is going to happen because of the data, because of what I'm showing. And I'm hopeful that as more and more women, people of color become entrepreneurs, probably we become a majority, you know, like it just becomes more normalized. So I'm just hopeful what is going to happen in the next few years.
Yeah, that's totally true. I'm hoping it gets better. There's still a lot more that needs to get done. This is just the beginning. For me personally, I would like to see more opportunities for people, not just minority, but also for people in the disability community. I feel like we need our own funding. We need our own category. So it's still a long way to go. But I would say for me, from personal experience, don't be afraid to advocate, like say to partner up with, say, a retail store, which I have. I partnered with Sarah Campbell in a boutique on Newbury Street, where I'm like, I need funding. I wasn't getting the grants I wanted, but I'm like, hey, this is what I do. This is my business. You know, I'm living with a disability, and you know, that's what Sarah Campbell does at her stores. And we had an event one day, and we raised over like $1,000, where I was able to raise for Girls Chronically Raw, also for the Muscular Dystrophy Association. So don't be afraid to also pitch your idea to, like, say, these different boutiques or pharmaceutical companies, places that have the money, especially those like biotech and those places. I'm like, oh yeah, like they can give me a check. And so it's like, so don't be afraid to also pitch yourself, because you never know. And if they say no, they might say, oh, hey, well, this opportunity may not align, but we do have this. We would like you to come and speak, or things like that. So don't be afraid to also pitch yourself, because you'll be surprised. I know I have with, you know, I've taken chances and I'm like, oh, they responded. And so, yeah, you never know.
Thank you.
You're so welcome.
I think, yeah, we're kind of like 5 minutes off, so we can move to like closing statements and then wrap it
Sure.
up.
Okay, well, so I think, I mean, we summarized, I did summarize already everything that we talked about, but I hope that we were able to inject today on a Friday morning a little bit of enthusiasm in you and to push you to keep going, right? Keep going and be a little bit patient, because I strive to be an investor. And so by the time I get there where I have enough money to invest, I want to invest in people like you, right? I want to invest in, of course, I'm going to invest in all the good ideas, but all of us have a different struggle. We have another level, right? Another level of challenge that we have to get through. And so me as a personal future investor, I will give back and I will pay it forward, and I promise you that I will invest in you. And so a little bit of patience, but on your part, do it. Go for it. Fearless, confidence, be prepared, network, collaborate, pay it forward, advocate, everything that we've talked about. Look for resources and don't be afraid to ask for help. All of us, you can connect with all of us on LinkedIn. We'll find resources for you. Maybe, you know, maybe you're in fashion, I'm in biotech, doesn't matter. I'll figure it out how to help you and how to get you to run an event and a fundraise event. I'm really good at event planning. I think when I become an investor and I don't have to work a full-time job anymore, I want to do event planning because it's really fun. I love running a good party. So, you know, just know that there are a lot of people out there that are very friendly and they want to help you, and we're here to help you. So don't be afraid to ask for help.
All of that. And you know, if I can leave you with something, it really is have the confidence in yourself, and don't be afraid to be like the idiot in the room. Don't be afraid to be, I like being the dumbest person in the room. I say it. If I'm the smartest person in the room, I'm in the wrong room, because I want to learn. I need to be able to grow and develop, and that's okay. So don't be afraid to be vulnerable. Don't be afraid to start. make sure that you've got the confidence to be vulnerable and to ask for help, because I think that's how you make it.
Yeah, ask for help and be vulnerable. I think those two are something that I want to stick with.
And yeah, like I continue to say, just go for it and just do it. Continue to network, find your purpose, and connect with others. And you'll feel so inspired and learn different ideas and tips. Because like we said, we don't know it all, so we can kind of learn and grow from each other. But I would say just go for it. You have an idea, a vision. Before you know it, your vision will be up and running. And just take your time. We all work at a different pace, and everything's a work in progress. And just do it.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much. That was a powerful, powerful panel. Lots of great, amazing insights. And also, I've been monitoring the online chat. Phenomenal response. Everybody love you. And it's amazing. Thank you. Lots of great motivation, inspiration. And yet, to agree to the lady's point, I also have a great adrenaline rush hearing to you all speak. And yeah, I would also like to echo that do take the 100 rejections challenge. We have 109 days left in this year, so it's a little under. It's a little under one rejection a day, so yeah, go for it, right? Awesome, awesome. So thank you so much again. Thank you for being here. This was amazing. And yeah, we can wrap it up there. And a couple points to close. We have a closing party this evening to celebrate the amazing conference that this 5 days were. And we also have a